In this video, we're going to be covering the top 5 skills you need to become a digital marketing data analyst. We're going to be covering 5 skills that you should spend the most time and resources on to develop and showcase in your portfolio and resume when applying for a job, which is really important because a lot of people make the mistake of dedicating too much energy and resources to low impact skills that aren't really as remarkable or looked for to add to their resume. So you could shave off a lot of unnecessary time by focusing on the most impactful skills. We're going to be covering this so by the end of this video you know exactly what you're lacking in and how to up-level those skills quickly. Now also keep in mind this is for a digital marketing data analyst, which is the type of role I have. It's slightly different from a data analyst in the sense that it is much more focused on a job subset where you're actually trying to work with various marketing tools and visualize the data. It's much less programming or data heavy compared to a standard data analyst role. So let's get right into it with the first skill. The first skill that you really should focus on is some type of web analytics tool, and I would say definitely more than one. So at least 2 of the major web analytics tools right now. Now the big ones, the major ones should become pretty obvious and they change depending on the year, but some examples include Google Analytics 4, Mixpanel, Amplitude, Heap, and the list goes on. But those are some of the really big ones. And I say more than one because most people know Google Analytics. That's fairly easy to learn. I wouldn't say super easy. It's actually moderately difficult for some if they've never experienced any analytics tools before. But compared to some of the others, it could be kind of easy. And the others I wouldn't say are difficult either. I would say with like a month of dedication of time, maybe a few hours a week, which is nothing. You know, some people work 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week. So just a few hours a week extra of time outside of work or outside of school where you're learning these and practicing these skills can really get you up to speed in a month. And so you need to learn more than one because a lot of these companies are more sophisticated and they're using more advanced tools to pull metrics you can't through the basic features of Google Analytics. And so you can really stand out by having these skill sets. And you'll see this same theme apply throughout this video because a lot of the more sophisticated or niche companies, maybe they're trying to track something like, you know, funnel drop-off rate or user journeys throughout the website, and they have to do it through a different tool like Amplitude or Mixpanel. And they're actually going to say on their job postings, I see this a lot, we want Mixpanel or Amplitude experience. So if you just do Google Analytics and you're just trying to get your first job or second job, it's gonna be tough, or at least you're gonna have a much bigger advantage if you can actually speak to these skills. Not just say you have them and not have them on your resume when they try and test you, but actually show you know how these tools work and you can prove it. You'll be way ahead of the crowd. Number 2, the second thing is data visualization tools. And I would say the same thing applies. Have multiple tools under your belt within this category. Reason being, especially with this category, these companies are using typically a variety of these tools. So if you just have one, you're going to be missing out a lot. Some companies I've seen only use Power BI. Some only use Tableau. Others use Google Looker Studio, which is the big one, the free one on the market, which is why it's used often. But if you only have one, you're going to find a lot of job postings or whatnot where they're asking for something else and you don't have it, and then you're cut before you even get to the job interview. So really try and leverage and get this experience as soon as you can, get real skill sets in it, and nothing beats the real skill. The best way of getting a job is to deserve a job. And so rather than, you know, claim that you have this experience when you don't, why not actually get that experience? So I already listed the big ones, Tableau, Power BI, and Google Looker Studio. Let's start with those 3 for now, and then if you want more later, you can branch off. But I would say those big 3 are like the big 3 in the market, kind of like, you know, the big 3 in tennis or in rap, even though now Kendrick Lamar is kind of beating those other 2 rappers and he's just the big one. Okay, Moving on to number 3, the third skill that you really need is probably some level of Google Cloud experience or just cloud warehouse experience. I think Google Cloud, otherwise specifically BigQuery, which is a feature within Google Cloud, is probably the most common one you'll run across and encounter and use, just because it integrates so well with other systems. It's a big one on the market, and on top of all that, it integrates really well with Google products like Google Analytics and Google Looker Studio. So I think it's the big one, and plus if you learn that one, then you can probably shift to a lot of the others on the market like Redshift, which I believe is the Amazon version of Google Cloud, or Adobe, I think they have one too. So really learn it, because generally speaking, this is going to be used pretty often for the more sophisticated companies out there. They have a lot of big data, oftentimes from web analytics tools or other data sources like advertising and so forth, and they're going to have to store it in a compact way in one of these warehouses, and you're going to have to be able to navigate these, set up billing, set up permissions properly, and then also eventually be able to query and pull the data you want from these tools. Google also offers a direct integration between Google Analytics and Google Cloud to store your analytics data into BigQuery, but that data comes very nested, and so you need to learn how to query that data, which brings us to the fourth one, the fourth skill set, which I think is really useful, which is SQL. Now, out of all the programming languages a digital marketing analyst needs, I would say SQL is by far the biggest one. It couldn't hurt to have some Python experience, but SQL by far is the one you want to learn first. Once again, I don't think it is like rocket science. I think it's not like brain surgery. You could learn this within a month or two by spending 5 to 10 hours a week. And like I said, so many people complain about that, but it's really not that much. There are people in China working like 12 hours a day without weekends off. So we need to get rid of the American mentality that I sometimes see with some of the people I've talked to, where they're just not willing or not motivated enough to work and learn this for a few hours every week. I mean, come on guys, it's not that hard. If you break it up, it's like an hour a day of just like doing a course with a programming language you like. So trust me, it's not that difficult of a language to learn. You don't have to become an expert either. If you can get to an intermediate level of proficiency, it's probably enough to get where you want to go. Now, Google specifically has a version of SQL, or at least like the way you want to query things and pull Google Analytics data from BigQuery is a bit unique. So after you finish the basics of SQL, it could be good to kind of learn how the Google Analytics data is nested if you ever have to use it. But I just find that I have to quite a lot, just because it's a very common data set to be queried. So that's probably your next step after that. Learn how to query with SQL GA data using BigQuery. So that's the fourth skill. And then the fifth skill that I think would be incredibly valuable is communication skills. Guys, I know data is in the name of our job title. I know you might think it's all about just sitting isolated in a silo doing work. But at the end of the day, no matter what profession you're in, you're probably going to be interacting with other humans. And that's why the people who succeed the most, while they're also technically very brilliant, they're also very brilliant with their social intelligence, emotional intelligence, social savvy, street smarts, whatever you call it, and their communication skills. And unfortunately, a lot of people who are software engineers, data analysts, they are lacking in this department, and that's why they're not really succeeding. If you can't convey your message concisely in a compelling way with good volume, good tone, good charisma, and chances are, by the way, you probably think you're a lot better than you actually are. I've gotten this feedback myself, and that's another one of the reasons I practice with these YouTube videos. But there's a lot you can do with your volume, your tone, and the words you use, so you're not offending people, you're not rambling on too much, so that you distract, and you can actually say a complex technical thing in an easy digestible way for leaders or people who aren't as tech savvy. Those things will really help set you apart. So obviously we all have room to improve, including myself, but that's a key thing that I've also had to work on, and I think it's often neglected. It's always tools, technical skills, but social intelligence is really important. In fact, even this year I've already bought a few things with my own money for self-improvement in this area, and I'm not affiliated with any of this. It's not like I get a kickback or I'm sponsored or anything. One is Vin Giang's public speaking online course. I found that to be pretty useful, and I've just started, so I can't give a full review on that, but he seems very credible and very successful at what he does. So that's a key area where you can work on everything from your body language, your hand gestures, your tone, when you pause, and then when you speed up. Those are really important for a good conversation and a good presentation, and just communicating with people. So there's so much you have to learn there. Once you bring all these together, they're probably all going to be tested or screened on some level in the job hunting process. Whether it's initially when they screen the resume, to when they see you on the job interview, or when they have exercises for you during the job interview or after the job interview. They're going to be testing your social skills. They're going to be testing if you fit their culture, if they actually like you as a person and would hang out with you. That's part of why they would hire you or not. You want to work with someone you actually can picture hanging out with, not someone who annoys you to death or is weird or is super boring. So keep all that in mind when you're applying, and by the end of the process, you will be farther ahead than most people. So leave a like, subscribe, comment what you want the next video to be about, and join my free email newsletter. Link is below for more exclusive tips I share nowhere else on how to get this type of job. And you get a bunch of exclusive stories and insights, and I even offer a free coaching, no strings attached, no selling. I do offer some occasional free coaching calls just for people who want to get this job or want to be helped.